Item number 4 is the zoning board appointment for the opening in District 2. Turn it over to Chairman Cole to make the motion related to this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had 3 applicants for this particular position, and I very much appreciate the person that filled this seat for the past several years. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint James Calkin as District 2 member of the Zoning Board.
I'm going to go to public. We have some public comment.
Okay.
Good morning, Romy White, South Santa Rosa News. I have a question. Why weren't the other applicants' applications posted as supporting documentation for this morning's agenda?
Dan?
I elected not to publish them. Sean has them and we can make them available, but I just included the application and resume of the one that Commissioner Cole selected.
Oh, so Mr. Cole made the decision? Was it disclosed that one of your challengers in your political race was one of the other applicants?
I don't believe that was part of the criteria.
Pardon me?
I don't believe that was part of the criteria for choice.
Yeah, okay. And also, who vets the candidates for this position?
Mr. Ward, the Planning and Zoning Director.
Okay. The reason why I asked that question is, and please correct me if I'm recalling this incorrectly, Mr. James Dabney had applied for the zoning board at one time, and he was declined because he had violated county code. And I'm sure you guys are aware that Mr. Calkins is considered a, quote, repeat offender of violating county code, as noted in a notice of violation issued to him by Randy Jones of the Code Compliance Department. And so I was wondering why that exception was going to be made for Mr. Calkins if it had not been made for Mr. Dabney. And furthermore, I did want to also ask if delinquent taxes would be a factor if the applicant for this position had delinquent county taxes. Thank you.
I'd have to rely on staff to answer that. I'm not familiar with people's tax rolls and don't keep up with that. And I'm not familiar either with any code compliance issues, so.
There was a citation for violation of the leave no trace ordinance in regard to turtles when Mr. Calkins was operating the VIP services down at the beach. And there were actually several violations, but he's paid the citation.
Yeah, okay, I recall that now. I'm thinking more. I wasn't thinking on the issues on the beach a couple times. And how about taxes? Any reason we would have?
It's not illegal not to pay taxes. If the sanction is if a tax certificate and then a tax deed is issued, it's you can end up losing the property.
There you go. All right. And the choice I put forward is certainly the person that I selected, and this board certainly has, just like it did with Mr. Dabney, has the ability to give this an up or down. So, Ms. Mahout?
Wallace Mahout, 5500 Cox Road, Milton, Florida. I do remember that occasion with Mr. Dabney, and I believe Mr. Dabney was also a repeat offender, and he was told by the board that at that time he would not be appointed, but he would be reconsidered if he was showing that he was a good steward and respecting county codes, and I can agree with that. I'd have to say that, I mean, as recent as May 2017, Mr. Calkins violated Section 1434A of the county code, and the code compliance describes Mr. Calkins as a repeat offender. So I think there were other applicants for the position. And I do believe, I think Mr. Calkins now resides in District 2, and he bought a house from your son, Mr. Cole?
That's correct.
Yes. Has Mr. Calkins made a donation to your campaign, sir?
No, ma'am.
No?
No.
So I'm just wondering of everyone in the county who may have applied for this position, why we end up with someone who is a repeat co-defender, why someone would have to buy a home from a seated county commissioner. Were there no other homes on the market?
Clarification there, ma'am.
Your son.
My son. Business between Mr. Calkins and my son is none of yours, period. Okay? End of subject there.
Well, I think it should be public information.
Well, you're wrong. It's not. That's between two private individuals, all done.
And Mr. Calkins could not purchase a home from anyone else in District 2. So I just think it's odd. I think the taxpayers and people who would be represented in District 2 may think the same way I think. I believe that Mr. Calkins noted his experience on the Holly Navarre Water Board as a basis for being able to be appointed to this board. Have you all been paying attention to the chaos at the Holly Navarre Water Board? Are you willing to bring this to the zoning board? And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments? If not, I'm going to close this. I'll move Mr. Calkins' name without objection. Hearing none, it passes.
I'm going to object. I can't support Mr. Calkins' nomination.
Okay. I'll call for a vote then, if I could ask for a second to a motion.
Could we just move it to the regular agenda for Thursday?
Well,
If we want to move it.
I mean, is that
If you
what
want-
we're
if you
voting
wanna
on,
move
or
it.
are we voting on the?
vote to move it.
Do we need
Oh,
action
okay.
today?
We need, I would say we need action this week if we want to fill this seat for the July zoning board.
The decision now is to move it to either regular or consent, right?
Or not move it at all?
Or not move it at all.
Second, the motion.
To move
But
it.
historically, we've provided a significant amount of deference to the district commissioner, and while I'm hearing the concerns that are brought forward, I feel that the performance of your appointee will be up to that individual. If they are in compliance with the requirements of residing in the district, and they serve on that committee and give it the respect that it is due, and come prepared and add value to it, then I feel that he could be an excellent addition to that committee. But how that performance is impacted is 100% solely up to Mr. Calkins. And I'm sure that there are quite a few people that might be rooting against him. I'm forever the optimist, and I believe that he's got an opportunity to prove people wrong, and I think he probably will. So I will second your motion, Chairman Cole.
We got a motion and a second. Commissioner Solder?
Mr. Chairman, your decision or recommendation is going to be between you and your constituents. I've always tried to support the district commissioner, and I'll do so today. Thank you.
Williamson, you want to finish it up for where we're going with this?
Well, you got to call the question. You made the motion, I've seconded it.
All right.
I guess your motion is to move it to, you want to restate your motion?
Yeah, motion would be to move it to Thursday's agenda without objection. But we have an objection. We got a second on my motion to move it to Thursday, regular agenda. And
I don't know the legalities as good as a lot of y'all, but I know we all have the ability to pull anything off the consent agenda and put on the regular. I don't know if that would hurt anything. I will tell you that in the short year and a half I've been on the board, I have never ran across as contentious of a appointee issue as this. And that's probably, and the only concern I have is why so many people in the community, I mean, I think I've fielded no less than probably a dozen calls, some for and some against, in this issue. So I don't know that, why not keeping it, I say, Mr. Cooey, even though I say all the time that the consent agenda is absolutely one of the favorite things that I've ever seen Commissioner Williamson do, I know Mr. Cooey has stated before that was the fear of the consent agenda, was that things just get passed up. The amount of phone calls and people we've had over it, I don't see the problem with just leaving it on the regular agenda. We're not.
That's where it was.
Just a motion.
Just a motion.
I thought it was a consent, but then an objection. I apologize. I couldn't even keep up there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to third the motion then.
Okay, well, go ahead and call the question if there's no further discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Motion carries to the consent, or to the regular agenda for Thursday. Next item